Welcome to the New Dentist Study Club podcast. My name is Dr. Sanj Mohanta. We're going to learn about clinical management, practice management, and the emotional management of dentistry. Let's learn how to be happier in dentistry. Let's go. Hello, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me on another special episode. This episode is with my friend, Doug Fettig, who is an accountant. And we met a couple of months ago in Texas at a dental practice management conference from the Dental Success Institute, Dental Success Network. And the way we met was we were at the gala for a fundraising initiative for a dental outreach group. And there was an auction for, they were auctioning away expensive vacations.
For the money to go to this incredible charity.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
And Doug came to me, he didn't know me, and he said, I was supposed to tell my wife that I just spent that amount of money on a trip to Tuscany. And I responded, make sure you invite her and make sure you don't invite your mistress, which he doesn't have. I don't want him to get in trouble.
Wow. Okay, it's all out there now.
But I gave Doug some really great advice. Now he's going to return the favor and give us really great advice on conflict resolution, communication tips with their team members. So by the end of this 30-minute episode, you're going to have a great conversation with your team members the next time you're in the office because of all of Doug's great tips. So Doug, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's really great to be here. And that's probably a very unique intro. So thank you for that.
Well, it just shows everyone what a special guy you are. Not only did you get this trip for your wife, but also that you gave a substantial donation to the dental outreach organization. So thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome. It was that gala charity ball, which is at the end of the Dental Success Summit. Really,
Yes.
the work that they do in third world countries is really moving. Yeah, it's incredible. And then dentists are like that. Dentists are incredible in terms of the time they give to others. So that's just a small example of that.
Oh, thank you, Doug. So thank you for taking the time to talk to us about conflict resolution, communication tips with our team members. Most of our listeners are associates, and I'm an associate now myself. And I have a challenging time talking to my team members because I feel that because I'm not principal dentist, I don't have much of an influence. And also, I feel like I'm also being watched by the team because I know they're reporting back to the principal because the principal's asking them hey, how's Sanj doing?
Sure.
How can associates have, healthy conversations with our team members when we want to give them a suggestion?
So I'm going to take a quick step back if you'll let me. So,
okay.
So first of all, Sanj, you introduced me as an accountant, which is a conversation stopper. People try to walk away from me at a cocktail party, but I'm going to forgive you for that. Okay. I'm going to forgive you for that. I was speaking last year to at NYU Dental School at some endo residents who were about to graduate with their endo whatever specialty, and some of them were sitting in the audience with $750,000 in student loans. Right? I mean, you've heard the stories. Okay. And when I speak to dentists around the country, which I love to do, at some point in the talk, I talk about leadership and it evolves into communication. And I usually ask the audience, and maybe there's 50 dentists in the room, combination of associates and practice owners, right? And I say, how many of you have ever had formal leadership training or coaching? Maybe 2 or 3 raise their hands out of 50. Okay. Wow. Then I'm like, oh, I get it. The rest of you got all the leadership training and communication training you needed in dental school. And they laugh because they got nothing, right?
Yes.
You're just trying to get your license. Okay?
Yeah.
So you get out of dental school and you're thrown into this office environment, maybe for the first time in your life, and you're trying to navigate how to be an effective part of that culture. And you've been given no playbook, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
exactly.
One of my favorite quotes about culture, Peter Drucker, who was a famous management guru back in the day, culture eats strategy for breakfast. I don't care what your strategy is. If you don't have a good culture, it kills everything else.
True.
So think about it, Sanj. if there's let's say a dental team has 8 or 10 people total in the office, right? If you have somebody who's has a really negative personality and kind of has that negative impact on people, all it takes is that one person to kill the entire culture.
You're right.
It's just that simple. And
Hmm.
for the dental partner or the associate, if you allow certain types of behavior to continue, the rest of the team notices that. Okay.
Yes.
And they see that that you don't have the courage and the ability to be an effective leader by addressing that behavior. And
Hmm.
every day that you wait to do something about someone's behavior that's not a part of that culture or appropriate, every day you wait to do something about it, you lose a little bit more of the respect of the rest of the team because they know
It's
that
true.
you should do something, but they see that you're not willing or
Yes,
capable to do so. It's a
exactly.
slippery slope. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
How big is the office that you work in? I'm just curious.
It's 4 operatories, so it's
Okay.
small. Like, a
Yeah.
couple of assistants, couple of hygienists, couple of
Sure.
front desk, yeah,
Yeah.
couple of dentists. So yeah, like less than 10 people.
So think about not I don't not gonna ask you specifically, but if there was someone in that environment that just didn't fit with everybody else, that impact, I mean, there goes your culture. It's gone.
Yes, it's true.
And as an associate, you're walking that tightrope of not wanting to overstep your bounds. Okay.
Yes.
Because I'm not the person in charge, but the first suggestion I have is that it all starts with the relationship that the associate has with the partner dentist.
Okay.
And in a perfect world, you as the associate are viewed as an extension of that partner dentist and as an extension of the
Hmm.
culture that they are trying to create, which hopefully is in alignment with your values.
Yes.
So instead of you having to look over your shoulder when you try to address behavior that you think can be improved or corrected, you view it as a partnership where you're supported by the partner dentist and
Hmm.
encouraged to promote those values in a professional and compassionate way. Make
Yeah,
sense?
that's a good. Yes. So can you give us an example of, a common conflict in the dental office and how we should address it?
So let's say a common so there's conflicts that the office manager is more dealing with. Let's say someone is consistently showing up late for work, or
Yeah.
let's say you're having a conflict, if you want to call it that, with how a dental office member is presenting a treatment plan to a patient, for example, or a hygienist or
Hmm.
something. It really all comes down, regardless of the situation and who's involved, there's a blueprint you can follow to have effective conversations that we consider difficult. And if you're okay with it,
Okay.
after this, I can send you a it's a small section of a PDF slides that walks you through an example of how to have these conversations. It's really nice to have a blueprint, but
Okay.
big picture, you're stepping back and you're saying, first of all, what are we trying to, what is the issue? What is the issue at hand? What is the issue
Hmm.
that we're trying to resolve? So for you, maybe it's what's an issue that, well, that you or one of your colleagues might have to deal with? What's a common associate issue?
Okay. So for example, I might realize that the assistant's not setting up, the room for the next patient who's waiting and instead is
Hmm.
sterilizing. And I feel like saying, like, why don't you seat the next patient first?
Hmm.
I can like have a conversation with them. And then while I'm doing that, then you can sterilize instead of
Hmm.
finishing one thing and then starting a next. Like take advantage of, times when talking with the patient, that's when you can sterilize.
Right. Okay, that's a great example. So instead of just having that conversation off the cuff, you're frustrated. It's happened
Yes.
3 times this week, and okay,
Yeah.
this is not acceptable. Instead of having that conversation off the cuff, and maybe even in front of other people, which is also another thing to avoid,
Yes.
is to plan the conversation, is to have time where it's just you and that other team member having the
Hmm.
conversation one on one in private, ideally. And,
Okay.
and by planning it, and I'll send you this in the PDFs. You're sitting back and you're saying, okay, how do I want to explain this situation to my team member? So first of all,
Hmm.
what is the behavior that we're trying to change? And in this case, they're not getting the
Hmm.
room ready, they're not sterilizing.
Mm-hmm.
And why should the team member care? So then you talk about the impact of that. It
Mm-hmm.
throws off the schedule. It requires other things to happen. There's an impact on the broader team and on everybody in the office. And then setting the expectations on how can we how can we not only correct that behavior, but how can we measure success? So measuring
Mm-hmm.
success is critical. And and through all of that, you're hopefully getting the team member to agree to the issue. So you might talk about how the room's not clean, right? Blah blah blah. And they might say, well, you know what? Susie doesn't clean the room either. Okay. And they're gonna try to divert the conversation. And
Mm-hmm.
there's like 8 or 10 ways that people will try to throw you off track with your conversation. One is by saying, oh, Susie doesn't do it either. And you learn to say through this process, no, no, that's a different conversation. Right now, I'm having the conversation with you and what you're doing or not doing with room sterilization. That's a different topic for a different time. We're going to stick to this topic. Or maybe the person starts to break down in tears, okay, which can
Mm-hmm.
be a defense mechanism. Someone
Yes.
if someone doesn't want to have a difficult conversation, let the tear ducts flow and the other person's all of a sudden on the defensive. So
Yes.
you might say something like, okay, I can see this is emotional for you. I see this is difficult, but this is an important conversation for us to have. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to compose yourself, and then we're going to continue the conversation. So you don't let them off
Okay.
the hook because they start crying, for example. And
Okay.
so you learn different ways to respond to common defensive techniques that they're going to throw up when you mention the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, once you learn these things and you start to you identify the top 2 or 3 reactions that you think this team member is going to have, and you're prepared with your response on what your reaction is going to be. And sometimes, they can be really data driven. It's like, well, give me an example. And then in that case, you want to be able to say, well, it's happened 3 times this week or 5 times this month, and
Mm-hmm.
here's when it happened. And the expectation is that you do these things, whatever they are, in order to make that room ready for the next patient. And if you can get them to agree on the the fact that their behavior wasn't up to expectations, up to standards,
Mm-hmm.
and what needs to be done to change that, then you close the conversation by agreeing on how we're going to circle back like in a month, and we'll
Okay.
see, make sure that hopefully we won't have any more instances in the next 2 weeks or a month, and we'll reconvene at that time and make sure that everything is on track and that you're doing
Okay.
what the expectation is. And then after that meeting, you follow up with an email or whatever the form of community Slack, whatever it is, and you send it and you put everything in writing. And maybe in your case, you copy the partner, the dentist, and say, here's what we've talked about. Here's what we agreed on. Do you have anything else to add? Okay.
Okay.
So that way it's in writing that you're getting them
Mm-hmm.
to understand what you're asking them to do versus just
Okay.
verbal.
Okay.
And that's just a quick summary of what you can do to try to control the conversation and also to get the person to appreciate the impact of their behavior and how if they change their
Mm-hmm.
behavior, it's going to benefit the whole team because people respond to incentives. If you're asking somebody to do something that they don't think is worthwhile or they don't
Yeah.
understand why you're asking them to do it, they're going to pay lip service. They'll shake their head yes, but they could care less.
Yes.
But if you can show them the impact of how their behavior is disrupting the rest of the team and the patients and the practice at large, then you have a better chance of getting them to change their behavior.
Okay. So just to summarize, have the conversation in private.
Hmm.
Tell them about how, changing their behavior will improve the team, improve the office. Make sure that they don't divert you away from the topic of the conversation by mentioning that another team member does it or that they start getting emotional.
Right.
And make sure you follow up
In
and make
writing.
sure you have some sort of metrics to like
Mhm.
measure, if they're doing it and how successful, you know, their change in behavior is impacting the office.
Well, and up front too, one of the very first is to plan the conversation up front. So
Okay.
you're planning this all out before you ever have that first conversation. So you're anticipating their reactions, you're
Okay.
anticipating what all that stuff. So never have what people view as an emotional or difficult conversation off the cuff. Always try to
Okay.
plan it out. And
All right.
taking a step back, hopefully you're doing all this with the support of the partner who owns the practice, that
Okay.
they're empowering you to have these types of conversations because actually it's going to make their life easier.
So should we go to the principal dentist and say, hey, if I want to give a suggestion to a team member, can I, do you give me the authority to do it myself, or do you like me to talk to you or the office manager for that?
So I guess, yeah, that's the
Mhm.
conversation to have with it. Are you
Okay.
okay? Are you okay to empower me to have that conversation? Do you want me to have
Okay.
the office manager as a part of it? And I guarantee you,
Okay.
most dentists are going to be blown away. They're going to be, oh my God, this associate is trying to make my life easier.
Yeah. That's,
And
they don't want to have that difficult
no,
conversation.
no, a lot of dentist strategies when it comes to difficult conversations, you know what they do? They put their head in the sand and hope the problem gets better by itself. And then
Yeah.
2 years later, they look up and that problem employee is still there, but two of your best people left because you didn't have the courage to do something about
Yeah,
the problem.
exactly. No, that's
So
true.
if I was a practicing dentist and you came to me with this kind of process, I'd want to roll out the red carpet for you and ask you how many creams you want in your coffee because you're making my life easier, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. And so it's utmost important that you have that initial conversation with the dentist about how, hey, I see how I can help the culture here and make your life easier and have conversations directly with team members if you're okay with that and explain how you would do that so they're not thinking you're going to just fly off the handle and have inappropriate conversations. Explain that it's going to be done professionally and you're going to follow certain steps.
Yeah. So how about, what do you think of this? Like, say an assistant isn't setting up the room properly. So now, while the patient's there, you have to, they have to leave, get instruments, get materials, and it's taking time. Like, what do you think of, talking to the assistant afterwards and saying things like, hey, do you need more time setting up? Do you want some help setting up? Do you want a checklist? Like, just to be curious as to why not everything's set up before you say things like, hey, it wasn't set up again. It's the same setup all the time. Why are you missing things?
Okay, you're advanced. You're advanced because you're spot on. If you ask them
Okay.
at first, what I noted was that the room wasn't ready. Can you help me understand why that was the case, and what we can maybe do differently to make that happen? And so, if you can get them to explain their side of the situation first
Hmm.
and give them an opportunity to tell their story, they're going to be much more likely to buy in throughout the rest of the process and for the potential solution versus just you
Okay.
coming down from the mountaintop and saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
wasn't set up, do better next time."
Yeah.
That's
It's
yeah,
true.
but
Yeah,
like what
because you're not understanding their situation.
correct. Maybe they had a terrible day. Maybe there's a personal issue, there's an illness in their family, they're just out of it that day. Who knows what the case is, right?
Yes.
So to give them the grace of asking them their perspective
Yeah.
is 99% of the process of getting their buy-in by getting their perspective first. It's I really one of my favorite leadership papers was a Harvard Business Review, I don't know, 10 years ago. So they boiled leadership down into two primary traits. One was strength and one was warmth. And
Yes.
the most important of those two was warmth because there's the old saying, people don't care what you know unless they know that you care.
Yes.
So as a team member, if you feel like the leader cares about you as a person, you're
Hmm.
far more likely to buy into the process versus someone who comes just from strength and
Yeah.
maybe worst case operates out of fear that,
Yes.
that doesn't generate. So a great leader can toggle between strength and warmth.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
There's times when you have to be strong, right? But
Yes.
but if you don't lead with warmth and build up that
Yeah.
trust, then the relationship is transactional. It's
It's
all
true.
transactional. If you lead with warmth, the relationship can become transformational.
It's true. That's a good point because if you're starting off your day barking at your assistant and saying things like, "Hey, you're late," or, "the room's not set up," instead of saying like, "Hey, how's it going? How are you doing?" Maybe you could have heard that, she had a difficult time with
Hmm.
childcare and that's why
Yeah,
she's late and that's why the room's not set up. But because there was no warmth, then you just went to being authoritative and
yeah.
it breaks down the relationship.
Yeah, if you're the team member and you come to them and say, "Hey, I've noticed that you've been, late a couple times or the room hasn't been ready and you've been kind of
Yeah.
scrambling. And so I'm just curious, is there something going on that I can help with, or what's happening, and
Yeah.
that gives them the permission to connect with you and tell their side of the story.
Yeah, that's true.
It's powerful.
Yeah, it is. Now, how about for those team members that are weak in certain areas but strong in another? Like,
Mm.
for example, there's some team members that are very highly skilled, but they don't talk a lot. So they're not talking to the
Mhm.
patients, they're not very exuberant in their personality.
Yeah.
So, you can't teach a penguin how to fly. So what do you do in those cases? Like, do you just kind of stick them in, do you kind of like those people should be in roles where they don't have to talk to a lot of people? Or should you try to get that, winning personality out of them?
Well, I'm a firm believer you don't try to pound a square peg into a round hole, which is kind of your
Yes.
penguins flying thing. So
Yeah.
if someone's more introverted or whatever the case is, everybody has
Yeah.
certain strengths and weaknesses, right?
Yes.
I believe as a team, you're better off trying to celebrate and amplify people's strengths than
Okay.
trying to get everybody to be able to. So I like sports, and I'm like on a basketball court, you have 5 players, right? Not
Yes.
everybody is going to be a 20-point scorer. Some people
Yes.
are great at playing defense, some are
Mhm.
great at passing and everything. So you don't want everybody with the same skill set anyway.
Yeah,
Because,
that's true.
for example, even though I'm a CPA, I'm not a super detailed person. That's why I just do the
Yeah.
talking. So if I was going to hire a right-hand person, I would want them to be detail oriented to
Yes.
fit um, an area that is not one of my strong suits. So the 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 um the tightrope comes when you have someone, let's say someone who's a wonderful hygienist technically, okay,
Yes.
but they don't have wonderful people skills.
Yeah.
Then maybe is it worth it to invest a little bit in them and paying for them to take a communication class and understanding how they
Hmm.
can maybe flex their style to connect with the patient style, and put a little investment into that, not to change their personality, but to get
Yes.
them to understand that they're in a role where communication to the patient becomes fairly critical. If someone is maybe they're in charge of billing and insurance, okay, whatever, okay,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying? It's more of a behind the
Yeah.
computer kind of thing. Great. But a front desk person, you absolutely want that warm, open personality. There's nothing worse than coming
Hmm.
in and your first impression is like front desk person doesn't want to see you there. It's like,
Yeah.
good Lord, come on, right? I mean, you're a small business. You should be welcoming people with open arms.
Yeah,
Without
it's true.
customers, you don't have a business. So I think you don't want to take somebody too far out of their comfort zone. But if
Yeah.
someone's in a role where that interaction is important, to help them maybe develop some skills that could not only enhance their career, but it would impact their entire life, to be fully honest.
Yeah, that's good. Just to encourage them to be a little bit more outgoing, provide them some courses, or even
Yeah,
say things like, "Hey, like in the lunch hour, you're really funny. You get us all laughing." Like, why don't you do the same with the patients?
yeah. Or even having them leverage technology, for dental offices that have a CBCT, and the
Yeah.
patient can see the scan, and you can tell the hygienist, let the technology tell the story. You're not selling
Yeah.
anything. The
Yes.
technology will do the selling for you. Let the technology tell the story, and the patient will come to the same conclusion as you. So that helps take a little pressure off the hygienist. They don't, if you say the S word, sales, to dentists or hygienists, they break out in
Yes.
hives. They don't like that, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, no, let the technology tell the story for you. And it's all right there in visual, and they'll get it. So that you can give
Yes.
them little tricks like that as well to help.
Yeah. That's great. And now you said that you have a framework to help with conflict resolution and difficult conversation. What is that framework?
Well, it's a framework, and I'm trying to think of the acronym. I looked at it right before our conversation. Now it's slipping my mind, but I will send that in the
Okay.
afterwards, that you can send to your listeners, and it works wonders. It's really amazing. But beyond the framework, I heard something that really works. So changing, I'm a firm believer in mindset. Okay, so mindset becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So before a difficult conversation, let's say you're going to have one today. If
Yes.
you if you tell yourself, and they've done studies on this, but if you tell yourself, hey, I'm actually excited about this conversation because I'm going to learn something and I'm going to grow as a person. If you just have that basic thought in your head, all of a sudden the conversation becomes a little less anxiety producing, because
Yes.
it sounds like a trick, and it kind of is, but it's like, okay, I'm actually excited for this conversation because I'm going to learn something from this. And if you even just twist that a little bit up front, that little mental flip makes the whole
Yeah,
process
no, it's
easier.
true. Instead of saying, "Oh man, I have to like have this hard
Right.
conversation. This person this is gonna be horrible. She's gonna start
Yes.
crying."
You go
You
into it
know,
gritting your teeth with your
yeah,
hands, like that, versus, you know what? I'm going to learn something from this. I'm going to become a better communicator, and I'm going to have the ability to have a positive impact on this person's life through this conversation. That makes a
that's
huge
great.
difference.
What do you think about starting off the conversation with your intentions? Just like saying things like, like, I really care about my relationship with you, Doug. Like, I want to have a healthy conversation so we can work out our differences and that, we can keep growing as friends. And then you have the conversation. So then the
Uh,
person knows, okay, you're not mad at them. You're not trying to
Right.
end the relationship.
Okay, I'm going to say this. You're going to blush. You're advanced. Okay, that's really awesome. Because if you start a difficult or what you perceive as a difficult conversation with the opening, like, hey Sanj, um, this can be a difficult topic, but I want it to be perceived in a positive way. I want us to both learn and grow together, and I like working with you and all. If you acknowledge the fact that there's some work to be done up front, it can
Yes.
disarm the person.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So it's how you start out instead of just cutting to the chase.
Yeah.
Hey, you were late 3 times this week. No, come on. So if you if
Yeah.
you preface that a little bit and you did a beautiful job, you should record that and send it out. We are recording it, but yeah,
Yeah, by
if you
saying things like to your hygienist who keeps coming in late and just saying like, you're such an important part of the team. Like the patients love you so
oh
much. You get along with everyone. You know, it'd be great if you can come on time. Like, can we have a discussion on how we can make sure that you get here on time? Are there any barriers that, we can remove so you get here on time?
I have some thoughts on how you can maximize the value of your contributions, and I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to hearing your perspective. Oh yeah, think about
Yeah.
it. Put yourself in the hygienist shoes.
Yeah.
Completely
And now
different reaction.
they're gonna want to come in on time just because they're like, oh, Sandra's so nice. I want to do this for her.
But you're also so that's the warmth part. But there's also the strength part. We've created metrics, we've created expectations, so it's a combination of those two things as you go through the conversation.
Yes.
It's not all warm and fuzzy, but that's what you lead with because that's what creates that trust and that connection.
Yes.
So it's that toggling between the two. That's the key.
Yeah. Yeah. Your mindset. So, just to summarize, have a good mindset going into the conversation and also like verbalize your intentions that you want to have a healthy conversation. You want the, relationship to work out because if it's a team member, they might feel like, are they going to get fired? Are they going to get disciplined? Are you going to tell the principal dentist?
Yep. And as you were, by the way, I guess my mind still works a little bit. The acronym for this blueprint popped to mind. It's called the PEC, Performance, Expectations, and Consequences. So, what is the
Okay.
performance issue? What are the expectations? And then what are the consequences if this person doesn't perform in the way that we hope they did? And that's
Yeah.
the framework. But when you see the template, and like I said, it walks in eight or 10 examples of how the person might react and how you can be prepared for that. It really helps arm you to have a more productive, beneficial conversation with the team member versus just going in off the fly and
Yeah.
having it off the cuff. If you don't plan it, it cannot be. There's no way it can be as productive as if you plan it out and have that method or a method to follow.
Good. And the planning is really important because if you have to sit and plan it, that means you're taking time, you're diffusing yourself so you're not so angry. Like do not send an angry email. Like wait until the
Exactly.
next day until your emotions are calm, you've had time to reflect and think logically of it. And the same thing with conversations. If you're angry at the time or upset at the time, just
Oh
put a
yeah.
pin on it and have
Yep.
the discussion on another day.
Yeah. It's so true. And like anything, I don't want to sound cold hearted, but having these types of discussions becomes easier over time because your muscle memory kicks in. Okay, I
Yes.
understand how the process works. I've done this before. So many years ago, I was in the restaurant business. I dropped out of college for 7 years and traveled around the world, blah, blah, blah. Did all the crazy stuff, right? I was in the
Yes.
restaurant business. And when you're a manager in a restaurant, you have a lot of turnover. And I had a woman who came in and her personal life was a mess. And she comes up to the table and she's in tears and she's telling her customers about her problems. And I'm like, Susie, Okay, that's not why they're here. They're not here. I can respect that you have those problems, but that's not why they're not paying for that. Okay, so
Yeah.
if you can't come in and put on a positive face, then you need to
Yes.
take a mental health day. We can't have that. And so having that conversation a couple of times with expectations, it gets easier. Just like anything, whether it's shooting free throws or changing the oil in your car or doing an implant, it gets
Yes.
easier with time, and your muscle memory kicks in when you get and you start to see the positive side of having these conversations and growing
Yeah.
together as a team. So like anything, it gets easier over time.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you, Doug. You gave a great summary of how to have challenging conversations. I love the PEC. So it's performance, expectations,
And
and then
consequences. And
consequences.
the key
Okay.
thing is the consequences isn't like the consequence to them, but the consequences to the team and the patient if you don't do that job. So it's not a negative
Okay.
for the person. It's like, what are the consequences to the practice?
Yes. Great. So, like you said, we need to have like minutes on the field. We need to practice this. So, like,
Yep.
practice with your friends and your family
Oh
and your
yeah.
roommates. And
Well, it applies to your personal life as well. We all have difficult
yes,
or what we perceive as difficult conversations, right?
it's
So the
true.
same concept applies in your personal life.
Yes. So, yeah, this is a great framework for all of our challenging conversations. Well, Doug, this conversation was not challenging at all. It was delightful. So it was great to reconnect. And I hope you have a fantastic time in Italy with your wife. She's going to love that birthday gift. She's very lucky to have you. We're very
Oh,
lucky to have you as a guest. Thank you so much for your time, Doug. And how can
you're
the audience connect with you?
well, so people think I'm crazy. I give out my cell number because if I never, first of all, I never answer an unknown call.
Okay.
So you can text me, please. My cell is 503-147-062. So that's my cell, and my email is doug@topcardpayments.com.
Great.
Doug@topcardpayments.com. So I travel the country and speak, and I love to connect people in the dental space to other people who can help them, whether it's
Oh,
marketing, tax, legal, coaching, fill in the blank. I love doing. That's what I love is connecting people.
yes. And he's a philanthropist. He loves, supporting great charities like dental outreach groups. So thank you, Doug.
Well, I hope we cross paths in person again at a upcoming
Yes.
conference.
Yeah, I would love that, Doug.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Doug, and thank you to the audience for listening. Stay tuned for the next episode. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the New Dentist Study Club podcast. Listen to us on Spotify, watch us on YouTube, share and subscribe, and follow us on Instagram at New Dentist Study Club.